The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to another Bite by Bite. He's Michael Coleman, the CEO of the Heart of Alabama Food Bank, HAFB.org. You check out their wonderful site. They serve 35 counties in the great state of Alabama. You can watch right here on the Tony Kurre YouTube channel, wherever you get your favorite podcast, and listen to it on the TKR app. You were talking, we always have a brief conversation before we do these things about where we want to go and the different angles we can maximize our efforts here. And you brought up something that kind of struck me. And when I say, listen, you want to meet for lunch next week, we don't ever think, okay, what are we going to eat or where are we going to get the food from? It's just second nature for us to go out and just grab a bite to eat when a lot of people don't have those luxuries. And so tonight or this week, we wanted to talk about how to fight that awareness value in helping people find that awareness in your actual agenda, that is, of feeding America. So talk about that a little bit, please.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I wanted to do this, besides giving everybody an opportunity to see your pretty face every week, was the reality is that there are people who have never experienced food security, and I'm glad of that. But it's like, if you're not aware of what the challenges are in society, because maybe you have never had to suffer, missing out on healthcare or missing out on food or whatever it is. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you haven't experienced in life. It's hard to believe if your husband's never been physically abusive. It's hard for you to appreciate what somebody in a domestic violence situation goes through. It's just hard to connect with that. And if you've always had plenty of food, it's hard to even understand what that looks like, what it feels like. I had a friend who, when I was talking about campus hunger, and her response to campus hunger was, well, just go get a meal card.
Yeah.
And that was her solution, because she didn't have any other context. It was never an understanding of, no, there's people who go that can't afford a meal card and don't have it, and they're fighting and eating crackers just to try to get through the day. That's the same way. So the good thing about it is our society is filled with people who do care about the poor and who do care about those who have not been as blessed as they are. We live in a wonderful world, and from that perspective, is that we understand this inherent responsibility for those who have been blessed with things to give to those and to be mindful of those who have not. And so giving is just part of our cultural upbringing, especially down here in the South. I mean, you're taught to put money in the collection plate by your parents, and why are we doing that? Well, there's people who need that worse than we do. And I'm so thankful for that. But the challenge is, again, the people who are generous enough to help, they don't know what they don't know. And so they're not as compelled to come along and help. So advocacy is a huge deal for us, and just we want people to become aware of this. So every day it's a chipping away. I mean, lots of times when people talk about, well, what's your fundraising plan? Mm-hmm. Well, we do have specific asks, especially this time of the year, because between now and the end of the year, it's our biggest giving of the year, and we need people to be compelled to give, but it's about thinking long-term about getting our community and bringing about awareness. And sometimes that can be through a volunteer comes in, and that can be somebody who hears us talk. My belief is, if we talk about what we're doing and we talk about it passionately, we talk about the need and how we're fighting this huge animal known as hunger and food insecurity, that we have enough people in our community that'll come alongside us. So everything we do is designed to get people to experience it, taste it, touch it in some way, so that their perspectives can be altered, and then they can become part of those that go, well, I've never been food insecure, but I was at the food bank and did a tour, and I was amazed at how much food they have and how much it takes to feed the community. And I'm amazed at what they do with the amount of people they have. And so they go out and they begin to inform others. And so that what we're doing at the food bank becomes, ubiquitous through our community rather than this anomaly that few people understand.
I think when you say chipping away, I think that is just so instrumental, and because it all starts so small, because we are talking about a massive problem, and I'll use this as an example, and the fact that you just talked about this today really made me, it kind of triggered my brain. I asked last night, we went out and had dinner, and I asked for to-go boxes. And as as a parent now, when you're out dropping 100, 120, $130 for dinner, you're taking everything with you when you go. You
Oh
used to
yeah.
you used to leave it on
Okay.
the table. When it was 30, $40, you'd leave it on the table. I'm not going to take that. But now I'm thinking to myself, you know what? That's lunch tomorrow. We can put these two things together and we could feed somebody tomorrow. And so we're thinking that route. And it just amazes me because whenever there's a flood prone area somewhere in the world and they've got more water than they know what to do with, and then it seems like two counties over, they're so dry and all they need is a good summer of rain in order to feed their crops so they can just eat regular foods. And it's just always, I always figured there was some way, if we can pump oil from one country to the next, why can't we pump water out to Las Vegas or somewhere? Why can't we get Lake Mead back up to where it was? Because we got all this rainwater, we got all this water everywhere. And everyone keeps telling me that the rainwater levels are rising in the oceans, yet we don't have any water in this particular part of the country. And so when I sit there and I look at a restaurant full of individuals and how much food is being wasted and thrown away, now we've done a better job at conserving that. Does that frustrate you? Does that overwhelm you sometimes?
Yeah, because even though we save as a network 4.7 billion pounds from unnecessarily going into landfills, there's still many more billions that do, and sometimes it's just plate by plate in restaurants. My wife we went out to eat yesterday after church. She didn't eat half her salad. She just wasn't feeling good, but of
Mhm.
course they can't redistribute that or save it or anything else. So of course it just goes in the garbage. I'll tell you something else about advocacy that I take very personally. Trying to help people sometimes overcome objections that they have. So um, down here where we are, I get this question a lot, this concern about the abuse of the food stamp system, like and the abuse of people taking advantage of being able to come get free food.
Mhm.
And I try to be incredibly honest and transparent. There's no government program you're ever going to have that's not going to have some abuse in it. It's just too big to manage that it's not. And every food pantry, because people are allowed to get food if they come in and say they need food. And
Sure.
is there a chance that they're taking this food and selling? Yes, there's always that chance. We don't follow them back to their homes and do that. And I said, but when I was earlier in my life, I would talk about the importance of eliminating like waste, government waste and SNAP, and would still love to do that. However, as I've gotten into this, as soon as I start putting faces, so if I said, okay, we're going to eliminate 100,000 people off the SNAP rolls, but then I line 100,000 and there are kids and there's seniors and there's everybody there. That me trying to root out this little bit of waste, and now I'm looking at the faces who are going to get caught up in that
Yeah.
and who are going to get eliminated. See, it's just different when I talk about a policy that's just a black and white government policy. Oh yeah, cut it, streamline it, make it right. But when I have to look into the eyes of the
Mhm.
kid who's not going to get to eat tonight or get to eat over a weekend, and he has to wait till he gets back to school to get his breakfast, or the senior who has to decide between their medicine that month or being able to buy food, that's when I'm like, when I'm looking into to the to the eyes of those people, and you see the pain, and you see the 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 lack of hope, and you see all of that, not knowing what tomorrow brings, then the other things don't become as important because that's where you're caring for your neighbor. And we've talked about this before. I kind of let the Lord just figure out. People are abusing the system. Just leave that to the Lord to figure out. And I'm not saying we should be purposely wasteful or not put in practices that are
Sure.
that bring accountability. But one of the things I want to do is just get somebody who's so fixated on this is to try to change their perspective and see the faces of the people who are going without the food and the damage it does to young children and especially the seniors. They're the most vulnerable in our communities. And we have to be advocates and stand up and talk about what they're not getting. We can't fix it. We can't fix all the root causes, but we can solve the problem of hunger and food insecurity.
HAFB.org is the website. Check it out. Hashtag HAFB. They do wonderful work at the Heart of LRF Food Bank. This is Bite by Bite.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.